Hey guys, happy Friday, or whatever day it is for you when you watch this. But I hope that everybody's being safe and productive and moving your life forward in the positive way. That's what I hope for everybody. Just to kind of encourage people, like, you want your life to go somewhere, you gotta lead it. But so anyways, I also want to say thank you for everybody that takes the time to sit and watch these. Like, you guys mean so much, and I don't know many of you. Like, I'm not sure exactly who's watching them, but thank you. Like, you take the time to learn my story, what I went through, and just help me spread the awareness. Like, so you guys are some real MVPs, and like, one day the karma's gonna come back. But if you have stories, like, I'm always open to hearing people's. I have a couple people that message me on TikTok, just kind of like, hey, this is my situation. But it's been really interesting to me because it's been super empowering. Excuse me. It's been super empowering, I feel like, coming out with my story. I feel like there's been a couple people that have said, like, I don't know if this is the best idea, like, I don't know how you will do mentally, but honestly, when it comes to mentally, like, it's helped me a lot, because being able to express myself just like this and knowing that I can make a difference, like, that drives me so much. And I've come so far just in this last month as far as being confident in the person I am. I went from somebody who was just scared and probably never going to make a police report, somebody who was just like, you know what, karma will deal with him, like, I'm just going to live my life and that's just going to how it's be. But you know what, it's because of you guys and my friends and my followers, and just all of you freaking people are amazing, and you've encouraged me so much. And I know the court battles are going to be huge. For anybody who didn't see or notice yet, I did file a police report, so I'm still waiting to hear from, like, the main detective. Hopefully I hear from her soon. Been told that it's a female. But so honestly, if I don't hear from her soon, I probably, like, in the next week or two, I will probably take my case to the FBI, because I've had a few people tell me apparently that's where I should go because it happened in multiple states. And when I was talking to the first officer, like he was telling me, and I already am aware of this, that it's going to be tricky because it happened in so many homes, so many areas, 3 different states. Like, there was just a lot. And so it's like, there's just, I don't know, like, so I'm just gonna, that's probably gonna be my next move, honestly, if I don't hear from this detective. I just really feel like it's the right thing to do, honestly, putting my father in prison. I honestly feel like that's where he deserves to be. He's just a bad man. Like, he did some, I don't care, honestly. Like, I know people change, but once you do something like that, like, he took years away from me, and this man molested me for years, and he touched me, and he made me touch him at such a young age, and he just put me through so much shame and physical, mental abuse. Like, I feel like it's the right move, and I know there's some people who disagree with me, but honestly, at this point, I don't care. Like, that, he did so much. So thank you for the people who do support me, because believe it or not, there's a few people who are trying to get me to not to do it. But honestly, like, the day I made the police report, there was, like, this just big, like, I don't know, like, it was just big, like, sense of relief since calling on him. And that's, like, a lot of what these videos do for me, honestly. I feel like once I kind of get it out in the open, and just kind of whoever wants to see it sees it, it's just very relieving. So honestly, these YouTubes are very therapeutical to me, just because for that reason. But again, I do want to raise the awareness. I do want to show how big of a problem this stuff is. Like, I'm really hoping that soon I can, like, I'm so excited for school to start, because I want to learn what to do, like, how I can make a difference. Because when I say I want to make a difference, I truly mean it. And I just want to raise the awareness so you guys can speak up. And the more the people speak up, the more less likely that these pedophiles are to act, or people are, because when someone sees, like, this dude just got arrested for 60 accounts of rape and 1 year in jail. I'm pretty sure that's what I read this morning. Something along those lines. I don't remember exactly. But he gets a year in prison. So, of course, people are going to be like, oh, well, I have this fantasy. I'm just a freaking sick weirdo, so I'm going to go do it. So no, so people are thinking that's okay when it's not okay. So the more you guys speak up, the more we, like, all of us speak up and we show that it's not okay, we're going to change it. So yes, so I had somebody tell me that just posting and talking about it doesn't help, but no, it does help, because you know what? The more awareness I raise, the more people come out. The more they see me and be like, oh, she came out with her story, let me come out with mine. Or the people who are in the situation right now, the people who are currently being abused, or the the people who are like currently dealing with bad situations, it doesn't matter. They know that they can stand up and get, whether it is a family member or an abusive boyfriend or abusive girlfriend. Like there's a lot of people who need to hear that message. So I will continue to spread that message. There's a couple things I'm going to pull up my notes real fast. I just kind of want to make sure I cover today. So the first one is kind of how my family reacted. So we're going to kind of go through everybody and just kind of when they found out, how they reacted, and how they're about it now. So we're going to start with there. So first of all, my mom. When I came out to my mom, we were living in New Mexico, and this is, I kind of told you guys the Greyhound story. So this is what happened. So my mom, like I told her, so I came out one day, like my dad was gone with my brothers. Surprisingly, he didn't take with me. There was every once in a while I got to be like not having to go with him to the store. So anyway, so he left with my brothers. I don't know if that's looking, so he left with my brothers, and so I was kind of there with my mom, and we were hanging out, just kind of talking. And I honestly liked when I got to hang out with my mom. For a while, I kind of let her be like innocent as far as she didn't know. So then one day, you know what, I cried and I broke down to her and I told her, and I was just struggling. Like I cried, and she goes, "We have to get you out of this situation." Just like a mom would. But honestly, like, say like as a mom would, but if somebody like told me like that they were touching my son, I would have a big problem with it, like a big problem with it. So kind of surprises me that she was just kind of like, well, like, so I mean, I figured she's scared, right? She fears for her situation, for her life. So I tell her, and so then that's when she helped me get to the Greyhound. So my mom drove me to the Greyhound station, told my dad she didn't know who I was. I had a little Wi-Fi phone. I got on the bus, like she kept in contact with me. She messaged me like halfway through after I left the Denver. I honestly probably would have just stayed in Colorado, like honestly, if I realized he was coming. But it was when I was heading back. I didn't know what to do. I could have got off at any stop and just stayed, but once again, I didn't know what to do, and she told me he was coming up. So I had a little bit of an awareness, but I didn't know, like I said, what to do. Because by the time I was getting close to being in that, it was late, it was dark, like I didn't have money. So I just, like, thanks, Mom. Like, you could have told me. Like I said, I would have stayed in Colorado. So I get there, and, you know, oh, well, like, nobody told me how he found out which bus I was on, but my mom was the only one that knew I was on a Greyhound bus. My mom was the only one that, like, suggested it. So she was just like, I don't know how she got the money for the Greyhound bus, but she left, but maybe that's where she's at. I can't tell you if that's where she's at, but sure enough, she happened to just guess to my dad, and he's so dumb to not thinking that she's part of it. He's just like, oh, good detective work, honey. Like, my God, these people. So she helped me, got the money from my grandma, and then turned around and ratted on me, like, and told my dad. So yeah, so that's where it happened. My older brother, he came up with my dad. He didn't realize what was going on. I don't think he didn't realize the situation. I don't think he listened to, because my dad had a private talk, you know, and he tried to buy me dinner and just, you know, be like the whole like, I'm in love with you, like, please come back to me, like, no. And I told him no, and I'm gonna go to my grandma's house. That's when he started pulling on me, and he started telling me that he will kill himself. And so the entire time as we went back to the car, at this time, I was still scared, so I didn't fight back hard. Like, I mean, I was in downtown Salt Lake. I was at my destination. All I could have done was just screamed. So if you're ever in this situation, just scream. Don't be scared, just scream. Because if I would have screamed, or if I would have just called my grandma and said, Grandma, come and grab me, like, I could have fought him off. But at the time, I didn't think that I could, so I just went with him. Like, I went with him. I mean, he was dragging me along, but once he was pulling me from the Greyhound, you know, just kind of like I'll kill myself right here and right then, like, and your brother's gonna, you know, and it's gonna be all your fault. So it's like, my head's so messed up with him so anyway, so that's what happened, and gets me back in the back of the truck, and as we're driving down, I just remember multiple times being like, just take me to Grandma's house. Like, I don't want to go with you. Like, I don't want to go back to New Mexico. I'm over 18. Like, you can't force me. And I remember just kind of saying these things, and every time I did, we're driving on the freeway, and he's the one driving. He would open up his drawer, like his driver's side door, and like pretend like he's gonna jump out. And he was doing it just to scare me. I see that now. At no point was he ever going to jump out. And sadly, this may make me the most messed up person, but I wish he did. But where he was driving, it probably would have made my brother and I crash and probably die too. So, of course, my brother's freaking out, like screaming, like, stop telling him that stuff, like, just stop. So he doesn't understand the magnitude of it. He just thinks that, like, I'm just a runaway bad kid, pretty much. So he's like screaming at me to stop. My dad's threatening to jump out. Got the door over his open while he's driving like 80 miles an hour. So I just, at this point, I give up. Because every time I said something like that to take me back and I didn't want to go with him, that's what happened. I was like, oh, well, I'm going to kill myself. So honestly, that's a big reason why I didn't fight back. Because it's just, I did. But not as much as I could. Like I said, downtown Salt Lake, I could have started screaming. I could have got off like the bus at the last station like an hour before Salt Lake. I could have done so many things, but I was so scared. And that's a big reason, like I keep saying, speak up, people, speak up, because there's so many of you right now who are being abused in your relationship or by a parent or just, I don't know, by anybody, but you shouldn't be abused. And you shouldn't have to go through this. Like, life is not meant for that. So that's why, like, comment on here. We'll figure it out for you. Like, message me. Like, I don't want to put my number out there, but people, like, I thankfully, after I tried to commit suicide, twice, it didn't go through, right? Like, it didn't quite work as I had hoped it did. And I'm extremely grateful. So don't take that route. Like, life can get better for you. It seriously can. Like, life's gotten so much better for me. Do I still have rough days? Of course I do. Do I still have, like, bad times? But yeah. So anyways, back to the point. We get back down to New Mexico, and later on, my brother kind of just, like, we're talking with him, and he's just like, your dad was freaking out, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't know what's wrong with this, but just don't ever do that again. Like, I don't know where you're trying to leave, but just don't. You know, it's just kind of one of those, like, just stay and make him happy, so we're all happy. That's kind of how my family treated me. They saw that, like, when I was the good girl and doing whatever he wanted, and they didn't quite know, but they probably had an idea. I mean, shit, they're not dumb. So I definitely know, like, I mean, like I've told you guys before, there was multiple times he made me, like, go in his room on a day that everybody was home, including my mom, and he would lock the door. My little sister, somebody would come up knocking on the door. Hey, Dad, you know? So it's, like, all this. Like, what was he doing with me? And so it's, like, I felt like they were just playing stupid. And that's what makes me have high disrespect for them, is because even after I came out, they still live with him. Like I said, I have one brother. Excuse me. Let's back that back up. I have 5 brothers. 2 older, 3 younger. My one oldest brother, that's the one I was just telling you about. So I'll finish up the story with him. So he just kind of was like the whole, like, yeah, like, don't scare your dad like that. And so I broke down to him because my dad wasn't around. I was like, dude, like, Dad's been abusing me since I was 13, man. Like, he's been, like, sexually touching me. He's been doing all this nasty stuff. Like, he's been making me do stuff to him. Like, help me, dude. And he just kind of was like, That was it. Like, that was it. Like, there was no, like, are you sure? Like, let's talk about this. Like, what? Like, my oldest brother was just like, Like, I don't even think I remember him saying anything. Like, honestly. Like, my oldest brother. Yeah. My little sister's being sexually molested by my father and being forced to do all these things. And I'm just gonna go, So there's my mom and my older brother. Now, my next brother, he's kind of, like, so when my dad, so to him, and then to my 2 youngest brothers. So we're missing the one that's right after me. So I know that's kind of confusing. So it's like, there's these 2, and then me, and then this brother, and then, so these 3 younger brothers. So it was this brother, and this brother, that were all, like, sitting around one day. And this is when I was, like, I believe I tried leaving after the second time. My dad thought he would be, like, funny or cool or whatever. And so, not funny, cool, I don't know. But he in his head, he's so messed up. And he thought he was in love with me. Like, he legit wanted to marry me. And he wanted to have kids with me. Like, he wanted this stuff. And so, one day, he sat my brothers down. And he said, hey, just so you know, this is all I know. I didn't hear the conversation. I just kind of remember, like, what my brother supposedly told me. But apparently he told them, I'm in love with your sister and I want to marry her one day. And my oldest brother is the one that, I'm not my oldest, but my second oldest brother is the one that told me this. And he was just like, I remember when sperm donor, because he refuses to even call him father remotely anything. So when he's like, I remember when he told us this, like my dad has my brothers so brainwashed, right? Like they're so like, yes, master to him. Like, oh my gosh. So I've been called, you guys have heard this, but I've been called multiple bad things by my brothers. Like just a crazy B, C word. Like, yeah, they're just all out there. Like I wasn't invited to weddings. I didn't know they were having kids. Like these type of things. So he had them as like his little buddies. Like he would just smoke and drink with them and whatever. Like just kind of, and my oldest brother was just always privileged. Like honestly, like he never got in trouble, nothing. Like, and that's just not a jealousy thing, but like seriously, my oldest brother. So my second brother, who was always abused, who too, like physically abused, he always stood up for my mom. He always was the one that was like, hey, don't do that to my dad, and got the shit beat out of him a lot. Like a lot. That brother was the one. Like, that's probably why we're so tight, close as we are, as far as when it comes to this, because two things is we grew up both with that physical abuse, and then after he found out about the sexual abuse, he was like, all right, I'm not dealing with that. So, yeah, so he tells them that he's in love with me, like, that he wants to marry me, and that, you know, we're gonna, so they're just kind of like, okay, yeah, bro, like, whatever you want, like, okay. And my two younger brothers, it still hasn't clicked to them. Like, it still hasn't clicked. But then one day, like, after I moved out and all that stuff happened, my brother kind of lived with them. And then he was just like, well, you guys are weird. Like, he started kind of getting, you know, like, he always had to work. And he gave my dad, like, every paycheck. He pretty much was the breadwinner of the house. After we moved to New Mexico, my dad didn't work a single day. He didn't make a single dollar. Like, seriously, he didn't at all. It was all my mom and my brother. So this brother, so yeah, so he worked. He was like so he would just kind of, like, do his own thing. And then my dad kind of still kept control over him. Like, this adult who's working, like, telling me he couldn't go hang out with friends or this and that. Like, my dad just, like, control in general. Like, that was a big thing. He's just controlling. Like, he liked to control everybody's life and everybody's aspect. And, I mean, in every aspect. So, my brother, yeah, so eventually they messed up his, like, credit. They took a lot of loans out in his name. Like, all these type of things. So one day he just kind of like, wait a second. So then he talks to me and I actually like come out to him. And I'm like, just so you know, like, this is who he is and this is what he's done. And my brother from then has like, he will never talk to him again. He hasn't put him in jail because he's been waiting on me. Like he's told me 100 times, like, I support you. So that brother, his name is James. Like, he's a real MVP and I love you, bro. He's marrying an awesome girl here in October. So I'm happy for them. So anyways, so that's the only brother that has brains. So then my next youngest brother, he disappeared from the family for a while. Like, we got a letter in the mail, something about court for him. Like, so he went and, like, I don't even know his story, what happened to him. But yeah, so after, like, he was kind of physically abused by my father as well. My dad always said he was like the milkman's child. That's what he always claimed for this kid. So my one younger brother. So the three of us kind of were the ones that always got it. Like, my oldest brother and then the three youngest, my two little brothers, my little sister, never really got it. So, yeah, so we were kind of the picked on ones in different reasons. You know, you see different things. That was like the one who stood up for my mom and us, and he got his shit beat. I was sexually abused, and my other little brother was just simply, he was redheaded, so my dad was always just like, yeah, you're not my kid, just that type of person. And he would, I remember him like bashing my brother's face on the table. Yeah, my dad was violent. Like, and I wasn't, not to just me. So he, my little brother disappeared for a while, and like I said, so I think I said this in the story of my life story, but so when I moved back to Utah, I lived with my parents for a little while just to kind of like save money, thinking I'm older now, like it's not going to be the same, which it wasn't the same, but it was still really weird. Like, I felt uncomfortable. I still felt like I had to ask permission. Like, that was a thing that took a long time to get over. So that's the other, like, it's still honestly hard to this day to remind myself I don't have to ask anybody for permission. If I want to go to the store or if I want to go for a walk, whatever, I can just do it. I don't have to ask anybody, not even my boyfriend, like nobody. So, yeah. So anyways, I moved back in with my family. And one day I was like, you know what? I haven't heard from him for a while. So I did some searching and I eventually found him on Facebook. Kind of just like he was kind of, I don't know if he was hidden from us or if I had to create, I don't remember how I found him, but I found him on Facebook. I was like, hey, your mom's been missing you. Like, she hasn't heard from you for years. She's been worried. Like, you should see her. So he surprised my mom, came up. My dad was in the hospital at this time, so I figured I'd tell you guys. Let me tell you real fast. He, when I first moved back in like that February, he had really hard breathing. So anyways, he went to the hospital and he had pneumonia. So he was in a coma for a month. And after that, so he still can't walk like very well to this day. So that's a big part of karma, biting him in the ass. Yeah, karma's there. Sorry. So anyways, I have a little fun when I write these videos, post these videos, whatever. So you guys are awesome for listening to my rambling. So anyway, so he came up, surprised my mom. My dad was in the hospital at the time, surprised my dad. My dad and him were like, oh, let's fix connections. Let's do all this. So then anyways, he got sunk into, he forgot all the abuse my dad put him through all these years. And he just immediately was like, oh, I forgive you. So he just was like, he messaged me one day after I first came out with my story and was like, hey, just so you know, I believe in your story. And I'm like, wow, bro, that means a lot. Like, most of James was the only one that believes me. I'm like, thank you. He's like, yeah, but I also think you should just, forgive him and move on. Okay, well, first of all, it ain't up to you to tell me to forgive him. That would be between me and God and him, and I'm not ready to do that, y'all. Honestly, you guys can judge me, but I'm not ready to forgive because I'm still processing it. I haven't been gone away from him as many years as he tortured me. So we're not even on the same playing field yet. And then moving on. Yeah, bud, we got a long, long way before we're moving on. Because you know what? Yeah, he did all to the top of abuse. There was nothing this man did not do to me or made me do to him. He was at the top of the freaking piece of shit ladder. And so, the building block man. So yeah, so that's what happened to that brother. He just kind of heard my story over time and was like, yeah, I believe you, but move on. Nah, sorry bro, ain't happening. But then my two younger brothers, yeah, so they remember that. I can't say that, but just over time. So I don't know what my dad brainwashed in them, honestly. They were both kind of younger at the time. The one, though, I do have serious concerns for. Another reason I want my father out of that household. So down there in New Mexico, it's my parents. My mom's still sleeping in his bed, just loving up on her husband, who's changed so much over the years. She tells me all the time how great he is and he's changed and he's a different man, not forgetting what he did to her daughter for all these years. Anyways, so it's those two. And then my one younger brother used to live there for a little bit, but I guess he moved out on his own in Albuquerque. A little bit proud of that because my family doesn't really take big steps because they're not those type of people. And so then there's my two younger brothers that live there and my little sister. So first of all, I'm worried about my little sister being there because, she's 15 now. She tells me all the time that he doesn't do anything to her, but she believes what happened to me. But she just kind of doesn't really talk to me because unless it's secret Instagram messages, she doesn't respond because she's not allowed to. But he doesn't know she has an Instagram. So guess what? Yeah. So anyways, I moved back in with my family. And one day I was like, you know what? I haven't heard from him for a while. So I did some searching and I eventually found him on Facebook. Kind of just he was I don't know if he was hidden from us or if I had to create. I don't remember how I found him, but I found him on Facebook. I was like, hey, your mom's been missing you. She hasn't heard from you for years. She's been worried. You should see her. So he surprised my mom, came up. My dad was in the hospital at this time. So I figured I'd tell you guys. Let me tell you real fast. He, when I first moved back in that February, he had really hard breathing. So anyways, he went to the hospital and he had pneumonia. So he was in a coma for a month. And after that, so he still can't walk very well to this day. So that's a big part of karma, biting him in the ass. Yeah, karma's there. Sorry. So anyways, I have a little fun when I write these videos, post these videos, whatever. So you guys are awesome for listening to my rambling. So anyway, so he came up, surprised my mom. My dad was in the hospital at the time, surprised my dad. My dad and him were like, oh, let's fix connections. Let's do all this. So then anyways, he got sunk into, he forgot all the abuse my dad put him through all these years. And he just immediately was like, oh, I forgive you. So he just was like, he messaged me one day after I first came out with my story, was like, hey, just so you know, I believe in your story. And I'm like, wow, bro, that means a lot. Like, most of my other, James was the only one that believes me. I'm like, thank you. He's like, yeah, but I also think you should just, like, forgive him and move on. Okay, well, first of all, it ain't up to you to tell me to forgive him. Like, that would be between me and God and him, and I'm not ready to do that, y'all. Like, honestly, you guys can judge me, but I'm not ready to forgive because I'm still processing it. I haven't been gone away from him as many years as he tortured me. So we're not even like on the same playing field yet. And then moving on. Yeah, bud, we got a long way before we're moving on. Because you know what? Yeah, he did all like to the top of abuse. Like, there was nothing this man did not do to me or made me do to him. He was at the top of the freaking piece of shit ladder. And so, the building block man. So yeah, so that's what happened to that brother. He just kind of heard my story over time and was like, yeah, I believe you, but move on. Nah, sorry, bro, ain't happening. But then my two younger brothers, yeah, so they remember like that. I can't say that, but just over time. So I don't know what my dad brainwashed in them, honestly. They were both kind of younger at the time. The one, though, I do have serious concerns for. Another reason I want my father out of that household. So down there in New Mexico, it's my parents. My mom's still sleeping in his bed, just loving up on her husband, who's changed so much over the years. You know, she tells me all the time how great he is, and he's changed, and he's a different man. Not forgetting what he did to her daughter for all these years. Anyways, so it's those two. And then my one younger brother used to live there for a little bit, but I guess he moved out on his own in Albuquerque. A little bit proud of that because my family doesn't really take big steps because they're not those type of people. And so then there's my two younger brothers that live there and my little sister. So first of all, I'm worried about my little sister being there because, you know, she's 15 now. She tells me all the time that he doesn't do anything to her, but she believes what happened to me. But she just kind of doesn't really talk to me because unless it's secret Instagram messages, she doesn't respond because she's not allowed to. But he doesn't know she has an Instagram. So guess what? Yeah. So she messages me and says, yeah, I don't really have anything going on and he's not touching me and I know, but blah, blah, blah. He's a good man. He's my dad. Yay. So glad my parents are perfect for you, girl. So proud. Yay. So glad that I got touched by my father for years and didn't get a childhood and I wasn't allowed to have friends. I'm so glad that you do. No, but seriously, I am happy for her. Like, there's a little bit of resentment, though, because you know how hard it is? Honestly, like, this is terrible for me to admit because I hate it. But you know how hard it is to sit and be grounded all the time and to not have any friends and to have all these constant phone checks and to like always be freaking physically abused and put my hands up in the corner and broken phone after broken phone and just the sexual abuse on top of it, and then turn around and you have a little sister and just like, as far as I know, she doesn't get grounded. She hangs out with her friends. She does whatever the she wants. Like, it's one of those. It's just hard. Like, it's hard seeing all your siblings live in this. Like, you just want your parents. Like, I want my mom, but no, I message her. Like, I've been in a dark spot sometimes, and I text my mom, and she just goes, sorry you're feeling that way, honey. It's like, no, but if your little princess down there said anything, like, you would be going, you know, but, so, I'm done with that, but, so that's just kind of how my family reacted. They just kind of, yeah, so like I said, my one younger brother, oh, nope, be back, because I forgot to tell you, my younger brother who lives there currently has I think a little over than 1-year-old daughter with my father, and his wife is pregnant with a second girl on the way. So I heard through the grapevine. So now there's going to be my little sister who's like 15 growing into her body, and then there's 2 babies. I don't know if he touched me as a baby. That part I can't remember, but you know what? There's gonna be 2 little girls there, so I don't feel comfortable with him just living a life down happily in New Mexico, never serving his sentence, just being able to not walk as well because, you know, he was in a coma for a month, and then being around all those little girls. That's not cool with me. So that he is going to spend his time in prison where he deserves. So yeah, so my older brother and my one younger brother who's married, neither one of them invited me to their weddings. I didn't actually know my older brother was getting married until I kind of find out, and then I didn't know either one of them were having kids until, I mean, my oldest brother his kid was already born by the time I knew he had a kid. So yeah, they all blackballed me that much because I came out with the truth. They didn't like it that much, and so they all lived down there. And honestly, like, I fear a little bit. No, I wouldn't say fear, but it worries me a little bit that they're gonna be extremely angry with me once this all process doesn't go through. But not my fault. I'm just coming out with my story. Like, and I'm not trying to play the victim's card here. Like, I'm honestly not. But like, I've been through minimal therapy. I haven't never taken pills. Like, I did get excessively into drinking for a little bit of a streak when I was super depressed. And that was actually during my postpartum depression. That's when it hit me the most. But as far as like the depression and what happened to me, I think it's something that I kind of just pushed in the back and suppressed. But I learned how to slowly file it out and process it on my own. I came to a point in my life, I slowly told people, right? I slowly became more comfortable with my story. And now here I am. I'm currently writing my book. I want to keep writing these videos. The story's going to go on for a long time. So everybody that sits and listens and follows me, like, I love y'all. Y'all are the real MVPs. Y'all are my family. Steve's family's been awesome to me. They have, and I'm extremely grateful for them, because if it weren't for them, like, I would have nobody when it comes to family. But I've developed a lot of friends or just close people in my life who have become family to me. So if you're watching this, some of my Tennessee buds, my Utah buds, some of the people I grew up with, y'all know who you are. Love you much. Take care.